Hey, I'm Jesse.
I'm Zach.
I'm Bobby.
I'm Brent.
And you're watching the Brain Candy Live review. Next on Now You Know. Alright guys, so we went to Brain Candy Live the other night.
Yes.
And I had been hyping it in my mind for a long time, so maybe I'm a little bit biased. But I guess the word for me is underwhelmed. I'm feeling like it just wasn't living up to what I thought it would be. What do you guys think?
Yeah. I think that it was very Adam Savage, but not a very well-directed Adam Savage. I was sort of going into it hoping that there would be a lot more Michael Stevens sort of twist on things, like we've seen on Tested, or was it Vsauce, where they do the
Oh yeah, I
slide
don't know
things.
whose channel that was on.
Right.
You're talking about the Curve show where they built these cool curves and it did it all in.
Yeah, I think that was Vsauce.
That was
Yeah.
Vsauce.
Yeah.
Like I wanted a large version of those curves on stage and
Right.
like have them like get some volunteers to like get into a ball at the top and roll down, like
Right.
something mind blowing. Like,
Right.
and I think that could be done,
Right.
but they
Because,
didn't do it.
It seemed like their budget was really small from what I gathered. Like, they had a lot of really cool ideas, but then they would kind of sort of bring out the invention that Adam had created. And it was sort of, yeah, I guess underwhelming. Like, I mean, it was still really fun to see, and it was really fun, but, you know, if you watch Vsauce videos especially, I don't think that you're gonna be very impressed by the mind-blowingness of this show.
Right.
It wasn't very mind-blowing.
And they also only focused on air in this
Yeah.
one.
Yeah,
Like,
all air related. Like Bobby was mentioning, like you see lightning bolts on the logo, so you're
Right.
expecting some electricity, maybe a Tesla coil or something.
Yeah.
And it was all air based.
yeah.
Yeah, I feel like if you were 10 years old, it would be a great show. Like it was the kind of show that if it came to your school and you were 10 years old, it would mind blowing. But as you get older and you're expecting a high level from these guys, because they put out great videos, right? And it just didn't live up to that. Plus, they said in all the pre-interviews and stuff that the reason they wanted to go do a live show was because they wanted to do stuff that you couldn't do on video. And I can't think of anything during the live show that you couldn't have done just as well in a video, unless I'm forgetting something.
No, I think this is true. Now, I have a little bit of a different perspective from you guys because I kind of went in expecting nothing
Oh,
from it.
okay.
Because, I mean, I watched Mythbusters a little bit when I was younger, but I maybe wouldn't say I'm a super fan. And I've seen some Vsauce videos, but I kind of was going into it more as a blank slate, not really having any expectations. And while I would definitely agree that the show was not polished, you can definitely tell it's early and they haven't really figured everything out yet. But I love their chemistry. I thought the two of them together make a good duo, and I can see a lot of potential there for some better shows in the future, maybe once they kind of figure out some of the kinks and everything. But I say overall, I thought it was entertaining. Definitely skewed more towards the younger side, at least in like this kind of stuff they were doing. But I still think it was a fun show altogether, and I think once they maybe get a year of touring under their belt, they'll maybe figure out some better stuff to do or kind of fine-tune things and make it a little more cohesive. Because I definitely felt the divide where like there were some parts where, you know, Michael Stevens was doing his Vsauce thing where he's kind of like taking what you kind of know about something and then putting a new perspective on it that maybe you don't normally have, and then Adam runs out with some contraption like, haha, look at this.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, those are both cool things, but I don't see quite how they work together just yet. But I think if they find a way to make them gel a little bit better, it can be a lot cooler.
I agree. It
There's
wasn't
just
really meshed.
Yeah, it's just a
together.
little bit of a divide between the Michael Stevens, and it's not cohesive quite yet.
Yeah, it felt like they were lacking a director. Like that they needed a strong director who could say, that's great, but here's what we need to focus on and do.
Right.
Whereas it seemed like, I think Adam's directing it. This is the feeling I got, or that he's in charge.
Right.
It seems like it really did make it on their own with like no team.
Right.
Like maybe a little bit, but I mean, you saw their notes when in one of their videos they released them
Right, all
talking
the-
about their
all the
sticky notes.
Post-it notes, yeah.
Yeah, and it seems like that's almost the only thing they really did was sit there and be like, okay, we need this, and that.
Yeah.
And then, you know, like you said, Brent, maybe eventually like they'll get a bigger budget.
Yeah.
They'll be a little more used to it. I think this is sort of just them testing the waters a little bit.
Right.
At least for them as a duo.
I feel like if they did the post-it notes, they got stuck on air. Like A was their
Yeah.
first letter, and they never got past A to M to magnetism.
I
to
It makes you
Yeah.
wonder, are they going to
electricity.
make more shows just to go into more categories?
Yeah, I don't know.
I would imagine that they must be going through different types of show, and then they'll probably cut it down and then add all of the pieces together. I feel like it was a preliminary show.
I did feel that way, but I mean, we are, what was it, number 4 on the tour or
Right.
something?
Yeah.
And I feel like normally wouldn't you have done some preview shows if you're trying to work out the kinks before you go live? Like, I mean,
Right.
so
don't know.
I mean, you were mentioning like in a year they'll have it down. In a year, won't the tour be over? Like in less than a year, the tour will be over.
They
So,
probably did some shows in front of like their wives and like and the kids,
yeah, I don't know.
and they were like the kids are clapping, so they're like, okay.
I feel like this is the show.
Right.
I don't know that they are actually going to be introducing more stuff. I felt like, I don't want to give anything away, but there was something they built, and an Adam build, and they had built a bigger version of this for MythBusters.
Yeah.
And he mentioned that in the show, and I felt kind of like, well, why didn't you bring the big version or build a bigger version?
Yeah.
You could fit that bigger version here on stage, and so I
Right.
kind of felt underwhelmed. Like, why didn't that would have blown away everybody if you brought a bigger version?
Right. It felt a lot like a elementary school science assembly where, some group or person comes and shows you
Like
all
Mr.
about
Magnet or
something like that, where there's a lot of different activities and things to show you stuff, and it doesn't get into much depth or detail about each individual one. There's no equations or anything, but like it just sort of excites you about science, and I think that it would be a very good one of those assemblies. But for the caliber of show that I was expecting, I think that it was a little lackluster.
Yeah.
I mean, especially at the beginning of the show, Adam says you're gonna. Oh, if you like that, you're gonna love what's coming up or whatever. And that's again like got my
Yeah,
bar
that really
raised
excited
up.
me. Like,
And then I was like, okay, great. And then there's a bunch of things I had seen many times before, so I was just like,
Right.
There's
from
no
a-
real new
from
spin
like
on
a-
this.
Yeah, from like some of the stuff you can find in a science museum.
right. It seemed very science museum-y. Like,
I was a little under the impression that we'd be seeing things that we've never seen before.
right.
Right.
Like in one of Michael's videos, he's talking about this element that he can chew as like gum.
Right.
And I'm like, oh man, imagine seeing something like that in person. Like,
Right.
that they're gonna make a sculpture out of a metal. It's like, and I really was surprised to see that they were only playing with air.
Yeah.
I hope they do more shows in the future, and I hope that they keep doing it. But I'm afraid that the reviews are gonna be not so stellar.
Now, talking of
this-
reviews, how does it even work? Like, normally with theater, there's the theater reviewer in the New York Times or something. I don't know if anyone's actually out there reviewing this.
It's us.
and
That's it.
we do this with love, you guys. Like, we really want your show to be mind-blowing and awesome. So I feel like there are ways to raise the bar a little bit and wouldn't cost that much more. I mean, for instance, you're going to use ping pong balls. I'm not going to give anything away, but do something with glow-in-the-dark ping pong balls or
Lighting them
Black
on
lights.
fire.
black lights or, and just, more ping pong balls or something. I just felt a little, again, underwhelmed. Like,
And there was a really cool thing they did. I don't want to give it away either, but there was something really cool with the trash barrel, and they kind of just did it really quickly and then moved on.
right.
And I was like,
do more of that.
more of that, please. And it was a little bit.
Right.
That being said, though, it was fun. It did entertain me. I really did like the duo.
They used some
Just
really
nice.
awesome screens on stage, but then they didn't use them in the show very much. I felt like they
Yeah,
could
not
have
They
at
could
all.
have used it more.
they could have
yeah.
put someone out in the audience with a camera on them, and then involve the audience that way somehow more. And
Yeah.
then, but the screens were like an afterthought. Like, oh, we'll just throw this quick image up there, but it wasn't integrated like I thought they were going to do.
Yeah.
Mm.
I think that a lot of the stuff would be very impressive if you're in Adam's workshop. But once you sort of get into a much bigger space, it feels a heck of a lot smaller.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, actually, that's something I was just thinking to myself. I wondered part of the problem too was the setting. We were kind of, in the balcony, kind of, up there looking down at it. Everything felt very small
Yeah.
relative to where we were. I wonder if the show would work better in a more intimate space, something where the stuff they're doing feels maybe closer to you,
Yeah.
bigger, Because I remember
Ping
we were
pong
commenting
balls
some of the
flying,
things,
yeah.
where you felt like things were like so far away or like barely moved. I was like, oh, okay.
That's a good point. Maybe they tested this out in like a little black box theater with 100 seats, and in there maybe it's really explosively
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, well, in this bigger venue, everything felt kind of small.
But I do want to
You know,
point out this
definitely.
venue was a nice intimate theater. Like it's
Yeah.
not one of those big,
I wonder if even the show would
stadiums.
have been more entertaining from the floor
The
level.
floor, yeah, you're right, because
as
some of
opposed
the
to
things-
looking down at it.
Right. That's a good point.
I mean,
I
I,
wonder-
still think overall the general stuff they were doing was not as mind blowing as maybe you would expect from like Michael Stevens, or whatever. But I think maybe the spectacle of it would have been better. Maybe from being looking up at it as
That's a
opposed
good
to
point.
down at it.
Because they
you
did
know?
do a lot of things in front of that crowd, and they did do a lot of things like.
But that's also
regarding
something they
that
probably
crowd.
have to, they should be thinking about too. It's
Yeah.
like
Right.
where they're playing to,
Right.
So
Definitely.
I definitely want to see more from these guys because I think you're right. They have an awesome chemistry. They work really well together. You can feel that they like each other, and I love seeing Adam on stage. He has this childlike quality to him where he's really, you can tell he's not acting. He just loves pulling out all his gear and doing all this stuff. So it's
Right.
fun to watch him, and it was fun to hear they do some questions and answers, and that was fun to hear some kind of backstories and stuff like that. So I mean, I think they both love to perform, and I want to see more from them. But yeah, I think they need to tweak it. Maybe bring in some professionals that can help them get
Yeah.
some more to the next level, or do some school tours. Like go to some middle schools and stuff and blow some kids away. Like they
Right.
need to see this.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny actually. When I really hyped this up too, with my friends, and they were like, "Oh, that's so cool! You're going to see like Michael Stevens," and we're all big Vsauce fans. And when I came home, I told them I was like, "It was really good, but it was a little bit like a middle school like science presentation." And then one of my friends goes, "Oh, did they take like dry ice and throw it all over the floor?" And I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "Yeah, that's the first thing they did."
Yeah.
Not to give away anything,
Right.
but it was very along the lines of that. And I
Right.
think it would be a great middle school
Mm-hmm.
like science show. So it felt a little weird that there were all these adults going to see sort of basic science.
The other thing we noticed, the audience seemed to be there for Adam. Like they seemed
Oh,
to know
yeah.
about
Definitely.
MythBusters and Adam, and it seemed like a very high percentage were there for the MythBusters experience. Very few seemed to know Michael Stevens and Vsauce.
Right.
That was my anecdotal thing.
Yeah.
But hey, we'd love to get your comments. If you've seen the show, please comment below about your thoughts about whether you think this was underwhelming or if it really excited you. If you're going to a show, please let us know where you're going to be seeing it. We'd love to see your comments below. And we've got some footage that we've been interspersing here of our kind of fun during that night. So we hope you enjoyed this episode. If you'd like to support us so that we can keep doing cool things like this, because these things do cost money, please go over to Patreon and support us there and become a patron. And please like and subscribe to this video.
All right. Thank you so much for watching.
Now
Yeah.
you know.
No.
Now begins for Brain Candy Live.
All right, so we just went to the restaurant that we thought we were going to go to, and it was packed. So we're
They only
going...
have bar seats.
Yeah, that's lame. So we're going to go to Figs and Pigs.
Figs and pigs.
Hopefully they got some figs.
And camera rigs.
Yeah.
Got some pigs, maybe some pigs,
And squigs.
some squigs,
As well as
jigs.
some.
If you're coming to Worcester to see a show, there's a couple big theaters in town, so you want to make sure you book in advance. We did not do that, and so the two places we wanted to go were fully booked, and everyone looked at us crazy that we wanted to eat at 6 o'clock.
I think
So-
it's because
And because we had segues.
It could be because of the segues. That could have also been why they thought we're crazy. So we're in probably the third best place in town. We'll let you know.